Sally up, green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the brown. Green Sally up, green Sally down. Last done start, gotta tell the brown. Oh, Miss Lucy dead and gone, left me here to weep and moan.
Bryce here from Last Resort Fabrication, and I'm excited to get started with you guys to grow as fabricators, to share knowledge amongst each other, and to make the industry fun again. So let's get started. Hey guys, here's 3 of my favorite installs, and they all have something in common. They all have the factory finish included in the install, and we've used professional products and professional clear coats and provided the customer with something that's going to look beautiful and last a long time. And this is important to adding value to your install, is bringing home those factory finishes. The key to doing these finishes is to have a good fundamentals. And what we're going to do today is we're going to teach you those important little first steps so you guys have the building blocks that you need to build your skill set to be better installers and fabricators. Thanks. And we're going to go over a few basics to get you guys understanding what the chemistry and paint does and what some of these labels mean. So the 2 big differences are 2K, which is what you normally spray out a spray gun, or 1K, like an aerosol. 1K can be a SEM product, it can be something from Pep Boys, it can be any kind of product that's just a spray can that has one component and it uses solvents to dry. That's how it dries and hardens, is the solvents that are inside of it evaporate. And the solvent content can be up to 70%. So you're wasting your money paying for that solvent. And that solvent's going to evaporate over 2 weeks. So the 2K products are more expensive, but you're paying for actual product. And that's the important part. So this is a 1K product, which you're familiar with. I like this clear. It's good for small little jobs. It's good for protecting. Problem is that it looks great today. And 2 weeks later, it starts to look hazy. And after a month, it can chalk right up or have bubbles. Or what worse is, you'll see your sanding marks, your scratches. And those come through because of the shrinking action that 1K products do.
You mean shrinkage?
Yes! Significant shrinkage.
2K products, like this Spray Max, has a grenade pin in the bottom. You use this little red cap on top, you put it in the bottom, slam it down, shake it up, and now it activates. 24 hours is all you have once you activate it. And if you've activated and the next day you want to do touch-up for a second project, sometimes it's not worth risking it, because what will happen is it starts to gel and it'll still spray, but it won't flow out, and then you'll have a really rough texture. Now, very important is that your primer is always a 2K. And there's a few reasons why. 2K primers, like the slick sand we have here, or super build, which I do prefer, it's just I only have the slick sand in stock. The super build, the advantage is it goes on metal, plastic, and wood. This just does plastic, wood, not for metal at all. Rust will form underneath your project and it'll all come off. Then it's really important that you don't use slick sand on metal, only on wood and plastic. So primer, when it's 2K, the big advantage of having a 2K primer is that if you put spray paint over top, or your top coat goes bad, or you get self-lifting, which I'll explain in a second what that is, you can wipe it down with a solvent. Because it's activated, it's very strong. And when you can wipe that down with solvent like acetone or some thinners or reducers, you can start over fresh. You wipe it down with solvent, let it breathe for a few hours, come back, and you can top coat again. You don't have to sand all your finish off. And when it comes to self-lifting, if you ever run into that problem, you're going to be really thankful you follow me on this one tip. Make sure you have a 2K primer. Always. And you can get a 2K primer in a rattle can. Spray Max, Elsa, DuPont, House Colors, they all have a 2K primer. If you have any 1K primer in your shop, throw it up. You'll thank me later for it. Don't even use it up, throw it out, get rid of it. switch over to a 2K primer. If you're not comfortable with using a spray gun in the slick sand, you can get a good 2K aerosol that would be easy to get used to. So a quick little side note here, self-lifting. And acrylic enamel is usually the culprit. That's usually what happens. Now it can happen with other alkaline paints, reacting with other paints. Basically, if you have lacquer-based products or polyester-based products, they're not going to react with anything else. And the key to that is you look at your can, and if on the back of the can it says recoat at any time, then that means that that's safe to use with most other products. Always stay within the families you're comfortable with, but that is a really, if you pick up that can of spray paint in the store and you want to know if it's compatible with other primers or professional clear coats, if it says recoat at any time, chances are it'll be compatible. Now, if it says recoat within 7 hours or wait 48 hours, or recoat within 3 hours and wait 2 weeks. I've even seen ones that say recoat after a month. So what that means is that paint is solvent phobic once it starts to dry, and it will attack itself, and anything you put on it will attack it, and there's no way to stop it other than sanding it all down and starting all over. So what self-lifting generally looks like is it kind of looks like frost crystals growing out of the paint. If you've ever used paint stripper, it's very similar to that because the paint stripper is actually causing kind of the same reaction. And these little veins start to form. And if you see those little veins form and typically where you'll see them is if you have a curved surface like this and you get a little too much paint and it starts to flow down the valley, that's where it'll start to react. Wherever it's a little too thick, that's when it first starts to react. But chances are by the end of the project, you'd have nothing but self-lifting over most of the surface. There is no way to fix self-lifting. There's no way to stop it. All you can do is get rid of all that paint, throw that can in the garbage that caused the problem. I've even had 1K primers self-lift with just regular base coat, automotive grade, professional grade base coat, little 1K primers, I've had react. So you need to stay within the family. Don't start switching paints all the time. Stick to something you know. Buy from a professional store. Buy from an auto body supply shop. If you don't have one, look one up in your area and get familiar with these guys. They sell better sandpaper, they sell better products, and they're going to be more helpful when you do have problems. Most of the staff is used to dealing with problems, and they can walk you through the process a little bit and give a little more advice too. So this is why we want to stay away from any acrylic enamel or alkali paint. We don't want to use them. They're lacquer-based paints only, and that will stay within our system. That'll work with the polyester primer and work with the 2K clear coat. A good example is SEM, ELSA, PPG, House of Colors. All their products are all a lacquer-based or a formula that is maybe waterborne, but it is compatible with the products that we're talking about today. Our savior, Big Daddy Roth, didn't sacrifice so much so he could have recruits like this. You need to know your equipment. Do you understand? Yes, sir. That's sir, yes, sir. Sir, yes, sir. Now let me see how you know your weapon. So one of the most important things that we need to know is what grits to use. And I talked about in my first video about how I go from 40 grit, 80 grit primer. And that's because I'm using Slick Sand, a 2K product, or Super Build. That's the reason why I'm able to do that. If you use 1K primers, cheap primers, you won't be able to do that. It'll look awful, but this is how we speed things up. And this little extra money that you spend on this product is what's going to save you tons of time. And that's what we want to give you the time to go do what you want to do in your hobbies and see your family and stuff like that. So this is a sticky back Norton, and this is a unsticky back. This is your regular paper back. Now all my pads are all sticky back pads. I don't use any of the kind that have the little fold over tabs, because with auto body or with install, they don't stand up. So I use like this SAR 707, or 3M has like a temporary. The problem with the temporary one is if we're wet sanding, I do find that it causes problems. It is water, it does break down with water. The SAR doesn't, so I use this. But in doing that, you have to use heat to remove it, because it's pretty sticky stuff. We've all used it before on our speaker boxes for holding down our carpet and stuff. So this will do a great job on sandpaper, but make sure that you use heat to remove it. You'll know you got the sandpaper at the right temperature to peel off, because you'll see on most of these, you'll see a slight discoloration where the underlying color, in this case it's red, will start to show more red through it, and then that's how you know that it's ready to come off. So we do 40 grit, 80 grit, and then we prime. And after that, we're gonna go, once it's primed and dry, we're gonna go 180, 320, 400, and 600. Now, if you're painting flat white, or gloss white, or gloss black, or satin black, any of our really base colors, and you can get away with it if your base color, but nowadays most base colors have some metallic in it. But if you do have a base color like a red or a blue or a yellow, you can get away with stopping at 400. You don't have to go to 600, but the 600 and sometimes even 800, if you're using really pearly colors, lots of metallic. And the reason is because the metal flakes in that paint are statically charged, and your project, which is usually MDF or plastic, has a lot of static energy in it. And those sanding scratches cause the metal flakes to stand up on end, and they kind of get caught in the grooves. And what happens is it changes the color, and you can see the scratches show up in patterns. So to avoid that, you can go to an 800 grit, but for the most part, you're gonna go 180, 320, 400, and 600. If you know it's a really metallic color, then you can go to an 800. But that's the process. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna sand, then we're gonna guide coat. We're gonna sand, we're gonna guide coat, and then we're gonna sand our last, whatever our last is, if it's 600, 800, we're gonna sand off that last bit of guide coat, and what you're left with is a perfect finish. And what that's going to give you is that's going to give you a perfect finish that doesn't show any flaws. And when it looks perfect with guide coat, it is perfect. If it's finished at 800 and you don't see any color left, you know it's perfect. You'll see me use this a lot. And this is guide coat. This is the aerosol dry powder. 3M makes a dry powder one that looks kind of like a makeup pad. It's a little round can that looks like almost what some wax come in, and you just pat it on like old school powder. And there's also the liquid ones that are aerosol as well, but they're liquid, they only take a second to dry. Also, if you're in a pinch, satin black SEM works fine as a guide coat. It won't react with most other paints, and it's, if you have it in the shop, you don't have to go buy another product. You can just use satin black SEM as your guide coat.
Hey, I'm just going to explain how this guide coat works. So you can see I've already applied the guide coat and I'm sanding it with 40 grit. You can see the major imperfections, and as the color starts to get lighter, we know we're getting close. There's one final imperfection I'm going to pause here and show, and that's we're spreading the Bondo, and I stopped. So that's pretty much finished out in 40 grit or 36, whatever you can get locally. Now I'm going to the 80 grit, and you can see I'm going to keep sanding. Those are the sanding scratches left from the 40 grit, so I'm going to make sure I get rid of all of them, and that's basically how the guide coat works. Now here's an example. Normally we'd have primer over this, but just to show you a quick preview, I'm going to continue sanding with 320, and then 400, and then 600. And what you're seeing is every time I'm removing all the guide coat and all the sanding scratches with each layer, so I'm not missing any little imperfection. Any little pinhole or air bubble in your Bondo will show up night and day because it's light green and black.
Okay, so I want to show this tip. So let's just get ready to do this. Plug in my gun. Okay, so first thing we need to...
What's going on there? Not plugged in?
So I bet you guys are wondering how I expect you to buy all this sandpaper, changing grits all the time. And the answer is easy. We're going to save the paper. So what we do is we heat up the paper and then we fold it in half. And the glue will actually preserve itself, fold it back like that, and you can reuse it over and over again. And all you have to do is just heat up the paper again, and you can put it back on the sander and it sticks and it doesn't fall off. It's a great technique. It's going to make your manager or your boss happy because you're not wasting shop materials. And this is a good way of being efficient, and you can always use the paper by hand also.
Well guys, that's it for the first episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and comment below, and for the month of October, we're going to give some swag away, hats and t-shirts. So just like and comment, and once we get 150 subscribers, I'll draw a name. I know we didn't get to spend a lot of time in the shop this time, but next time we will. Just this time we want to get those fundamentals down so you guys know what to buy and what to have on hand, so when we do some tutorials in the future, you're all set up. Please comment below what you guys want to cover. Next time I was thinking of doing airbrush and painting techniques. If you want to do carbon fiber, let me know. If you guys would like to do some fiberglass molding, let me know that. Anything else you want me to touch on next time, just comment below and we'll make sure we get around to all those questions. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for all the support. And let's make this industry fun again. Let's get rid of the negativity and let's get creative and enjoy each other's builds. Thanks.